Yo, what's up everyone? It's Merrick TV. It is Friday. It is a mustache time. I'm looking at the reactions of all of my the people in chat here. They can see this. It's good to see you guys. I hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the next episode of Coffee Break. Oh my god, that stash. Dude, I told you, it's getting intense. Okay, so welcome to episode 3 of EOD discussion. This is End of Dragons, Guild Wars 2's newest expansion. There has been so much to talk about, so much to do, so much to go through, and there seems to be new stuff happening all the time. I guess that's sort of normal for a new expansion, but we've got a lot to chat about. So that's what we're going to do. This is the MMO podcast. It is not always Guild Wars 2, but we are all diehard Guild Wars 2 players and very excited for new content and new guests. Welcome to the Dr_Virus, a good friend of ours on the upper right-hand side. You beautiful man. It's good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, it's good to be here, man. Definitely.
Cryptic Villain, my go-to co-host, the shiny guy below me. Good to see you. Hope you're having a good day.
Shiny guy. Okay.
Wait, I see mute. Is he actually muted?
No, I'm not muted.
I just have you muted.
People hear me? Yeah, do you have me muted? I think you.
I don't know. I see a little mute sign on you.
There's just a little mute sign on your Discord video.
Wow.
Can you guys hear Cryptic?
That was intentional.
Oh, okay. And my beautiful wife, Junie Vision, in the bottom right. Hello.
Hello.
We got the chat. You guys are represented as well in the middle of the screen. You guys got the big box this week. As always, we're going to be discussing all of the stuff going on with these. This week is going to be story, EOD, elite specs, new balance patches that are coming in, some of the stuff with the meta event that's been changing. So a lot of things. But as always, you guys can contribute, ask questions, make comments, discuss things in the chat, and better than ever, we'll be able to see it right there in the middle and respond to your questions live. Xander the Mesmer says, the famous virus. He's famous. You're famous, bro.
All in bad places. No good places. All bad places, yeah. Definitely famous, though.
I believe.
Before we start, we have to point out the illustrious mustache pony Sona that has graced us.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yes.
Thank
This
you
is
to
the
Tiffy.
amazing Tiffy, who did the art, by the way, for most things that you ever see on our stream, including all of the pony Sonas that you see. Everyone's got a pony Sona, even Virus. This one was not done by Tiffy. I had to do something really quick for Virus, but I actually, if you type Plague Doctor Pony Sona in Google, guess what? Lots of images come up. I don't know why.
That's terrifying.
I was shocked.
Terrifying.
I'm not going to lie to you. I was very surprised that was the case. So Tiffy updated the one that I have above me, so you can see it's got the sweet stash. This is the first time that I've done, just a little bit of a twist up at the end here. I blame Soul.
I see that slight curl.
Do you? Can you see it?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a community college teacher, and there's no going back. That's
Actually, I think we finally found the thing that fits the community college teacher. I think you really
has
really
the vibe.
nailed the vibe. Yeah.
This especially, yeah. You know what? I should get like a tie and maybe a tweed jacket. I could pull this off.
You're developing a whole new look.
Yeah, you should stop right now. I think that's the best. That's the best for that.
I don't know. We can turn the television into the little mustache, a monocle maybe. We're on a roll here.
No, Angie,
you know
that
what?
can't happen. It can't. You can't do it.
I think
Too
Judy
much.
got a good point with the monocle on the TV. I think that's the next step.
Yeah,
Oh.
absolutely.
So
Not sunglasses, but monocle now, is that?
Yeah.
Coffee Break is canceled. This is now a workshopping Merrick's mustache podcast.
No. It's actually a community college class. Let me pull down let me pull down the projector. We'll teach some things today. All right, guys. So, like I said, lots of topics to go over today. We always go over in time because there's always so much to discuss. And this time we have 4 opinions, not just 3. It's very exciting. We're going to be starting with the story of End of Dragons. So I just want to give an overall spoiler alert. There will be nothing we won't be discussing in this. So if you have not completely finished the story, I recommend that you bookmark this, check on our YouTube in a couple of days, and we will have this up. You can listen to it then. I just don't want to spoil anything for you. I know Junie and I took a long time to finish the story. If you want to know the truth, I finished the story today. I finished the story
Me
just
too.
2 hours ago so that I could be totally ready and fresh for this. I also wanted to do the meta freshly before you do the final chapter of the story. Turns out there's an achievement to do it that way, and for good reason. There's actually it sort of expects you to do that. Go ahead, Cryptic.
No, I was gonna say, I assume that's what happened was that you guys, because you need to actually, or you don't need to, but doing the meta is generally considered the right thing to do before the story, and with the way this meta works, that can be kind of difficult.
Yeah.
So I mean,
True.
Well, you actually don't need to succeed to get the
Oh,
achievement.
you just gotta
Right.
have to do it.
Exactly.
A
You don't.
failure
Oh, really?
counts, and it's because
Really?
you sort of like you get the idea of what's happening. I think
Yeah.
you may need to get to the final phase, right? Maybe
Mhm.
the last whatever, and then if you fail, you know. And the reason
Honestly-
is because when you go into that final chapter of the actual solo instance story part, right? They act as though the meta has just finished right then. Like that's literally where you walk up. You have defeated the dragon.
Mhm.
It's sort of like weakened by the meta, right? But not dead. That's kind of the word. That's how I took it. Is that right?
Yeah. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. When the meta ends, I mean, I feel like you've weakened Void Suan. Spoilers.
Void
for-
Suan.
Void Suan. And basically, the story picks it up from there. I mean, we'll get into all the things that happen, but
I
yeah,
mean,
I think it's good to
personally,
do it.
I appreciate that they have an achievement for that because it clued me in.
Mhm.
I would have enjoyed that kind of a situation with Heart of Thorns because I know that was very strange. We finished the whole personal story and it's done. And then all of a sudden, oh, we have to go back and fight him, the Mordremoth. Like there was
That-
no indication ahead of time that, oh, by the way, you should do this meta event first.
Mhm.
And I'm
Yeah.
not so sure that it's intended in terms of HOT with Dragon Stand that it's done first. I think
Is it though?
lore
No,
appropriately,
it
I
is.
think it's done concurrently. I think the idea is that there's a giant group of people out there doing that, and you are inside fighting Mordremoth's mind at the same time,
Okay.
right? I believe it's not so linear. I think it's like at the exact same moment, those two things have to happen in order for us to succeed. If anyone in the
weren't
chat
they-
knows different, please let me know.
I think you're right from a thematic standpoint, from like a story standpoint. But can't you not access the story originally? You weren't able to access the story without completing the meta in Heart of Thorns. I thought you had to correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought you had to actually complete the meta to access it.
To access the final chapter of the story, I don't
chapter,
think
yeah.
so. I don't think that you do. You have to get to a certain point in the story to walk into dragons. I guess I mean.
I know
think
they
it-
changed. Yeah, I know they changed it in Soul, but I thought originally that it was locked out until you did the meta. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah, I think Cryptic is correct. You used to have to, from what I
Yeah.
read back in the day.
Wow.
But I do think thematically that's what they're going for, though, Merrick. So, yeah.
Well, that makes sense. Obviously, we skipped to the very end. We're going to start talking about stories. So we'll wait to get to that because I do want to review the final chapter. Like I said, fresh in my mind, very excited about what happened. There definitely were some things that I really loved. A couple of things that I think, left me hanging a little bit, but we'll see. I think I can see you doing that. I can see you do it. You go ahead. You take the wheel, Cryptic. I can see you're highlighting on the Google Doc.
Oh, you can see.
I'm like, where should I start here? See, highlight.
Let me just type Merrick.
Merrick with an arrow. Start here.
Well, okay. So we're going to dive into End of Dragon story now. Again, spoilers for anyone who has not finished it. We've given you plenty of time though. So if you haven't finished it, please finish it. It is a good story.
Very good.
Probably one of the best that ArenaNet has done in a very long time. Callbacks, there's been a lot of we got a flash on the screen. There's been a lot of really interesting cohesion and callbacks done throughout the story that we really haven't seen before. We're getting things brought in from Guild Wars 1. We're getting things brought in from other Guild Wars 2 storylines. Mytrin, original season 1 stuff, other dragon related stuff, Marjorie talking about her sister, lots of different things. And I wanted to get your guys' take on, one, do you think that was executed in a good way? And then two, would you like to see more of that going forward in Guild Wars 2 in general and in the stories that hopefully we will continue to get beyond this expansion?
I mean, I personally think that the story was well done. It got me out of the aerodrome. I don't get out of the aerodrome ever. So I mean, I think that the story was absolutely well done. I love the callback. You know, I love my trend. Like, you know, she's a villain most of the time, but you feel bad for her. You know, when she dies, like you feel really bad for her.
Mhm.
Yes.
I would love to see all of this in future story as far as the game's concerned.
I agree 100%. I actually love the callbacks. I think the story's been going on for 10 years, guys. The game Guild Wars 2 came out in 2012, right?
Yes.
It's insane to think this, but it's actually true. The game has such a long, involved story. Some things feel disconnected, a little disjointed. There are clear points in the story where I feel like there's like a chopping block, and then they start sort of again. I like, dude, at the end of the story, somebody brought up Snaff. That blew my mind, dude. I mean, when was the last time you heard that name? Like, I like it when they make those references because to me, Zoja, yeah, I know, and for me that really connects the story and makes it feel like I'm not just doing some new chapter of a video game. And I want to go into that too because the last chapter of this did not feel like an MMO. It felt like the end of a video game that had an end. That was it.
It was
the end done. You know, like totally weird, and I like that, right? But it was very strange, and so I like the elements that make it feel like this is a journey. I'm a character that has met all these characters, have had all of these interactions. And when you call back to those things, it makes the world feel all the more real. So I absolutely love that. And Virus actually stole my thing. My Trin. It was the grand slam for me in this expansion. Who thought that up? Who thought let's make my Trin a main character and make them a protagonist, right? Like a story arc.
Anti-hero.
Yeah, an anti-hero will become hero, right? By the end of it. So she had a real arc even in the short time that we had her there. And I went from, you know, thinking of her as a villain. I mean, obviously I don't have the same trauma that Marjorie and other people had. Yeah. But I definitely was like, oh, screw my Trin. And then by the end of it, you're like, man, I love my Trin. Love my Trin.
And it really made you hate Anka, right? Like, you're like, how could you kill her? Like,
dude. Yeah, at once, that was at one moment, that was solidifying our empathy and caring for my Trin and making us hate Anka at the level that we were supposed to because she needed to die for that. Like, that was the moment, right? Where we were like, how dare? So I thought that part of the story was well executed.
I have to agree.
Junie?
I personally love my Trin. I have a very I have a weird nostalgic connection with my Trin because back when Fractals, the original version of Fractals, before any sort of like end game of sorts, I was in another guild, a different guild. This was before I even met Merrick. And I remember, you know, my Trin was the boss to beat in Fractals. Like, you know, she was the end boss. And there were so many times of like, you know, just crazy experiences with her of like, you know, just running around that arena. Like, I know from myself personally, I remember that there was this one time where I was with my group and we were all everybody was like dead. I would think I was the only one left. I was on a core mesmer, by the way. So can you imagine, right? Core mesmer back then with like my little minion hopping behind me. And I remember just like slowly getting her down and we won. And it was just like such a cool thing. So for things like that, like I thought it was super cool to be able to see her again.
They humanized the crap out of her, right? Yes, like not only was she just a villain, they built real empathy. She was a drunk. She was drinking away her sins, right, and her loss. She had left the Aether Blades, right, not going well. She had actually formed a real positive relationship with an actually good person who was respecting her for her actual good talents and not her piracy. And, you know, like, so she, with June is what I mean. And so by the time and then she screwed that up, right? And then we find her sort of miserable. And then we see the state of her life in her messy apartment, which we already talked about that. I won't go into the pile of clothes. Although that is an overarching.
Don't make me change the YouTube to have to be MA.
This is an overarching thing that I actually like about this expansion. I felt like people are becoming like the characters are becoming more real, visceral, I guess, right? Like in their language, in their behavior, especially in their language, in little things like what's in the pile of clothes. Like there's just little things that make these people feel less like video game characters. and more like, book
People.
characters. Book characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean they feel extremely real. I mean, there's so many little. I mean, we might as well dive into characters since we're all so excited about my trend.
I love my trend. I'm still
I mean, I
mad
do too.
that the Vindicator isn't channeling.
Yeah, I
channeling,
agree.
What's her name? Scarlet from my trend. Like the whole thing was so good.
I agree. But I mean, I think we see lots of little snippets from all the characters about, they talk like they're normal people. They're having conversations throughout the story about not only what's going on in the big bad world that they're dealing with and the problems, but also just everyday life things, right? And that's what makes them feel real.
Yes.
We'll get into Rama specifically, but Rama does that a lot, where he's just having an everyday conversation.
Anybody else just freaking love Rama?
Yeah, I love Rama.
Yeah.
That dude
Absolutely.
is so awesome. And I was so worried they were going to turn him into a villain or something. Like he was going to be the secret reveal, and that would have bummed me out because he's so cool. I like his hat.
Yeah, Rama's awesome.
Big-headed man, you mean?
Yeah, big-headed man. Who is it that has like a crush on him at the end? I forgot who it is.
I can get the name.
Somebody had a crush on him, but he's got a crush on Min, right? The minister, the new minister of.
Oh no,
security.
Ellen Keel has a thing for ramen, right?
That's
Captain
it,
Ellen
that's it.
Keel. Yeah.
Did you just call him ramen?
Yeah, he did call him ramen.
Rama?
You just got called ramen. That's terrible. That's terrible. You're fired. Cancel cryptic. Hashtag cancel cryptic in the chat, please.
But yeah, let's wrap up with my trend, and then I guess we could talk about Detective Ramen.
That can't stick.
I think it's stuck. It's done.
Yeah, it's stuck. It's stuck. I guess one thing I want to ask you guys before we move on from my trend: did you forgive her?
Oh, and did you say you did?
Yes,
Because they straight up ask you at the end if you did. Go ahead, Virus.
No, I did. Now, of course, I don't have as much connection
There it is.
to the old stuff or any of the old game that everybody else does.
Virus
so,
has
I mean,
been playing this game for like 8 months.
Yeah, like I barely came into this game. So I mean, of course, I did. I felt empathy for her. I thought she was well written this time around, and I think it was cool to see her come over to our side and.
Mm-hmm.
And we had some emotions towards her. So yeah, I did forgive her on that one. I did select that.
And for the record, by the way, we killed her hero. Like Scarlet was her hero, her mentor, and we just straight up killed Scarlet.
Who was amazing, and and B needed to be killed, right? She was a psycho lunatic, and she was trying to take over the world, and she basically wrecked like Lion's Arch, right? So they're like she needed to. I love her as a character, love her as a villain. I think Cryptic mentioned last week that A-Net may not always be stellar at writing villains. I think that's how you said that you felt.
Exactly.
I felt that character was so cool.
I
Like,
agree,
so cool.
100%.
Even posthumously cool, right? Like after she died, we still thought we went back and we were like, holy crap, she was into that crazy alchemy stuff, and it was just a fascinating character, I thought.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, 100%. And she,
Thank you, Cardi.
she didn't start out as a villain either, right? She started out as a scientist who was trying to understand more about dragons and just started losing her mind, which I think is what they try to do with Anka, but we'll get to that in a second.
She lost her mind in the mists. She had a whole different thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I personally, I didn't forgive Scarlet or Maya, Mitrin, because I felt major empathy for her. Really, I actually did. I loved her character, and she got me on her side. Like, because I hated my trend. I've always hated my trend. Like, she wrecked Lion's Arch. Like,
which then spawned the rebuilding of Lion's Arch, which is nowhere near as cool as the old Lion's Arch in this old guy's perspective.
No, I agree. I was there. I still to this day, I've rocked one title on my main character, my Ranger, which none of you see me play because I don't play Ranger in raids. But
and since all we do is raid.
Yeah, exactly. But I've rocked one title on my Ranger since I got it, and it's Hero of Lion's Arch, which you get if you defend Lion's Arch in season 1 successfully.
Which is a big flex to have that these days, right?
Yes, I think it is personally. I mean, it just reminds me all the time of of how awesome that was. But anyway, the good old days. The good old days, man. Maybe one day. WP did a poll. Would you rather have SAB World 4 and 5, so 2 new SAB worlds, or would you rather have replayable season 1? And replayable season 1 won 60%.
Replayable season 1, easy. Yeah,
it won
that would be my
60% to
vote.
40%.
Yes.
So
agree.
Yeah.
Potatoes, I know you're not watching, but count my vote.
But anyway, yeah, I didn't forgive her, and I think more of that was because not my hate towards her. Like, I personally had forgiven her, but the way the question was posed in the story was like, do you think she deserves forgiveness? And to me, it was like, it's not my place to judge. Like,
So you felt like you couldn't dole out that forgiveness, but
No,
you personally don't forgive her?
No, personally, I do forgive her.
I see.
Personally, I do forgive her, but I felt like the way the question was asked in the story, I didn't feel like it was my place to judge. Like they're basically asking me, how do you judge her? And because they said something about like, isn't it fitting that she saved a city, she destroyed a city, and her redemption is saving a city? Do you feel like she earned that redemption? I forget the question exactly, but it was something along those lines. And I was like I'm like, trying to play as my character. I'm like, I'm just the commander. Like I'm not, an omniscient person. I don't know if she deserved that redemption. She did a lot of awful stuff. She assassinated
Can I drop the awesome Jory quote at the end of the game though, which is, that's the good thing about being an asshole. You can choose to stop anytime.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I thought was a great quote. I love that. And true in her case, right? I mean, like, does it excuse your past actions? Maybe not, right? I think that's what we're discussing. But I mean, has she earned? I don't know. I like that it was up to the player. Shouldn't we say that? We weren't forced we weren't forced to not forgive her. We weren't forced to forgive her. And I think most video game narratives kind of force you into one way or the other. Obviously, the story was gearing you towards forgiving her, but the ultimate choice was up to you. I don't know what the dialogue was if you say no. Guy said yes. Did you say no, Cryptic? I should ask you. What did they say?
Oh, I said no, and
it was Ellen Keel, right?
Yeah, I think the response was basically, what did they say for you? Because I believe the response was basically the same, kind of just like.
Oh, she straight up disagreed with me. She was like, I can't say that I agree with that at all, Commander, but something. I forgot.
Oh, for me, she gave me, I don't remember exactly what she said, but I remember being a very neutral statement. She was like, it's hard to judge these kind of, like, she basically responded how I was thinking, like, we have no way of knowing, blah, blah, blah. But, in the end, I guess she tried her best or whatever. Something like, it was a very neutral statement. I was like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I'm feeling. That's why I said no.
I mean, the choice is great, but my hope would be that the dialogue was profound and profoundly different for each one. Like, that's the only way to really capitalize on that. If you're going to take the extra mile, to let people choose, I would hope that the dialogue is good. I'll have to go back and do it again because I plan on doing it on other characters. I need the achievements, guys. I need I didn't get all the achievements my first run through. Did you guys do that?
I didn't. I know.
For all the story things, I sure did not.
For all of them, no. But for the last chapter or two, I did.
Okay.
There's a few that I'm missing for some of the other ones, but I mean, me and Phoenix got most of them, and I have a few of the like ascended things that you get for completing them. So
yeah, the accessories. It reminded me of like Living World Season. What is that, 2? When you go through and you're getting all of the is this sinister trinkets or whatever for doing all of the achievements. I remember those being a
slight slide tangent. But does anybody else here save the trinkets that have unique dialogue on them?
I absolutely do.
Yeah, there's cue Judy immediately. Go ahead.
I have no personal value to them, so I will scrap them if I have to.
The only one, I mean, I don't even use them. I put them in my bank. The only one that I have used is the original backpack from season 1 because ascended backpacks were so expensive back then.
Yeah, they were tough.
So I had to use it. I still have it, though. I will never destroy it.
90% of people ran the crafting backpacks, and I think like the ascended backpacks, it was like the Light of Dwayna and the
Shadow of Grenth. And
Shadow of Grenth.
Chaos of Lissa,
which is the one that I rocked. That was 400 or 500 gold at the time, which was I think it went up to 1,000 at some point. It was just literally insane.
Marek, but do you remember what happened? He actually crafted that backpack when after we had met in game, and he accidentally, what did you do when you finally bought the recipe? You accidentally put it on the wrong character?
The recipe on Merrick, who was the only crafting discipline that was level 1. I had every other crafting discipline up to max except for armor smithing, and he was armor smithing, and I used it, and I was like, so I actually did. This is a nod to ANET just being awesome because I like wrote a petition, right? And I was like, guys, this is what happened. It's so expensive. I can't wait to craft this. I did it on the wrong character. I hear you guys are awesome. Would you be willing to fix it? And then I hit send and I was like, it's 9:00 at night. There's no way they're going to get back to me. And then I was like, I must craft this. So I just power leveled my armor smithing all night long and then finished it and then crafted it. And the next day they got back to me and they were like, sure, we can help. And I was like, you don't have to anymore. I was very impatient, but thank you so much. Like, they were really cool about it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
Cheers to ArenaNet.
Dude, that skin was so expensive. That recipe. By the way, for anybody wondering, there are obviously more god back pieces now, but those were the first original 3.
Yes.
And they all came from the final battle against Scarlet.
Oh
in
my
season
God,
1.
I forgot
They
that.
did.
Yes.
The Shadow of Grenth and the Light of Dwayna were rare drops, and the Chaos was an ultra rare drop. It was so hard. You were better off buying it right as the event was happening because it only went up in price after that. It went up so much.
Yep. And that's what I did. I bought the recipe finally when it was about 400 gold, and that felt like a steal at the time.
It's so cheap now, by the way.
It's like I know it's
gold.
dirt cheap.
I don't know why it's so cheap, but it's so cheap.
But it's still my favorite backpack in the
It's
game.
one of the best.
I adore Chaos of Lissa.
I definitely remember that. Yeah.
It's the old heads over here talking about. But anyway, we talked about how awesome Mitron is. I guess we should talk about ramen. I mean, I feel like
He said ramen again. He said ramen again.
No, I'm doing it intentionally now.
Sure.
We'll talk about Detective Rama.
Angie's right. Cost on cost. You remember that back piece? That was a big staple. That was a go-to. I don't know when that was released, but that was definitely. I'm sorry, Cryptic. Go ahead.
No. I honestly thought that Rama was going to be more of a side character. I didn't think we were going to see him again after the first map, and then he was just in every
He was our companion.
Yeah, he was awesome. Him and Gorick made the. We can actually probably talk about both of them at the same time since they're both kind of
Gorick.
side characters.
Love Gorick.
Oh man, he is somebody. I think Wooden Potato said he's like the comic relief of the thing, and I kind of agree. But there's something about him that just feels he's not just like a mouth. He's not just like a comedian, just like there for laughs. He's just a person that you enjoy being around, right?
Don't you have extreme empathy for, right?
Yes.
Like he's got it rough in this a little bit, and so you kind of you feel bad for him the whole time, but you also are cheering him on. It's not just laughing at him, right? You're rooting for this little dude, and I just love having a character like that is. A companion through the story that is evolving with you. He's got his own little arc. I like him a lot.
Oh, he does. Absolutely.
I think you're right, Merrick. I was kind of expecting Rama to be like our evil, so to speak,
right.
the guy that we have to face. I was also really happy that we didn't have to go through and face him because I thought he was kind of like the every day kind of person, he's just doing his job and then he's got thrusted into this shenanigans that we're doing and going through. I think he's a real
sort of rolling his eyes sarcastically through
the
whole thing.
Every time. Yeah, I think he is a well-written character. I would definitely love to see more of him maybe in the future, depending on what ANET does. But I think he's definitely a well-written character and definitely loved him.
I love the fact that people react naturally in this story. I mean, we talked about, other characters, but Rama is a key thing of that. He is just so blasé about
he's such
us.
A dude. He's just a dude.
Yeah, he's just so blasé about us as the commander. But then when we get to the end in Dragon's End, he's like, shit. He's like, I'm not cut out for this. And we're like, it's okay. We'll make it. We'll be fine. Yeah. And it's just he's just a normal guy. He's just everything was just him being a detective. And then he's pulled into this crazy situation and he responds accordingly. Just like if any of us were pulled into a crazy situation, we'd be like, what's going on here? I'm not made out for this. I don't kill dragons.
And it's also so much about the natural relationships that he has, right? He's got a mentorship thing with Minister Lee, which turns out bad. He's got this childhood crush on Min, right? It doesn't really pan out, doesn't take the center stage. It's just a thing. He's just got a crush on her, which I like. It didn't have to be this giant thing with a huge resolution. And also that jerk. The way what?
I think she has a crush on him too, but he just keeps bungling it up.
That's the secret knock, bro. We all know the secret knock. But he's also got that relationship with that that sort of dick, that other bureaucratic guy that he has a hard time with, right?
the one that makes us run around and do tasks for him, so we
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like all of the little interactions, the little relationships that all of the characters have, I feel like they're really growing in that aspect of storytelling.
Mhm.
And Ritlock dropped an F-bomb on me in the last scene, which
Yeah.
shocked me, bro.
People are cursing constantly in this one.
Yeah.
But it's natural. It's just like
Don't you
so,
feel like, yeah, it adds, it doesn't
Yeah.
detract, I feel
no,
like.
it doesn't. No.
Now, chat, if you guys disagree with that, I'd love to hear your opinion. But I feel like it's done tastefully in a way or naturally in a way that it doesn't feel like it is cringe-inducing, and it also makes them feel more like people that I hang out with.
I was gonna
Like
say, I was
in
gonna
real
say
life.
that. Yeah, it seems like you're just talking to your friends. You know what I mean? Like normal conversation.
And
But doesn't
exactly what
that-
Soul just said. It was a nice change to have someone just treat the commander like a person too, instead of the commander, which I thought that's actually very astute. I think that's true.
I thought it fit because he didn't really know who we were, right? Like I hate when people know who we are and they're just like blasé about us. But like, because like, we'll get to June later, but June's AI knows all about us, and she's like, she's like the powerful Tyrion, the commander, just wrecks some stuff up, and I'm like, yeah, I deserve respect. But Rama doesn't know who we are, and he's just like, you're just some guy that just trashed my homeland, and I'm like, yeah, that's fair. Like,
Which is kind of the entire vibe of the entirety of Cantha, right? They're like, we don't care what you've been doing. We're awesome over here. We are well more advanced than you are, and you're all you did was drop drama on our beach. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We don't come in as the conquering hero. That's not what we are. We're sort of not welcome. In
No.
fact, I really liked that first scene. Isn't it weird? We see, I haven't talked with anybody about this because I hadn't even thought about it until just now, but the first scene where you walk into the throne room and you see the queen or the empress,
yes.
we never see her again. She has nothing to do with the story at all.
Yeah.
I've never even thought about that until just now. Like June was there, Minister Lee were there, they're main characters. Never again did we hear from the empress.
Who was rooting for, or not rooting, but was expecting an assassination takeover plot? I thought that was going to happen. I
Yeah,
thought,
closer to that than
Yeah.
what ended up happening.
yeah.
And I got to tell you this right now because I had a weird experience that probably isn't relatable for everybody. But somebody like twisted my arm and it was like, "Dude, come and do the strike missions. We're gonna." And then they were like, "Well, the next strike you haven't seen. It's definitely from the story. It's gonna be a bit of a spoiler, but you could see it coming, really. So just don't worry about it." I managed to do the rooftop fighting Minister Lee without ever reading the nameplate or ever looking at his face. All I saw was the hat, and so I thought it was ramen. I was very sad. I was very sad about this. And I'm
also
really
just-
glad that it's not.
You also just called him Ramen. I'm glad
You
this is catching on.
bastard! It's your fault. Chad, it's Cryptic's fault.
I guess we can move on to talking about some of the other minor characters. Minister Lee, I mean, I think he was pretty obviously going to be a bad guy. I was actually, the whole time I was playing through the story, I kept saying to Phoenix, like, this is obvious, like, but I hope they don't do it, just because I wanted them to do like a twist on it.
Sure.
I don't know. I don't think it was bad story. I want to make this clear. I don't think Minister Lee being a villain was bad writing. I have other things in this story that I think were bad writing. I don't think this was one of them, and I think it was an enjoyable moment.
Makes sense.
I just think I have this thing in writing where the bad racist guy ends up being, who's just like this obviously bad guy, ends up being a villain. And I feel like that's teaching people a poor lesson. I would rather people see the bad racist guy as just an average person and see that these people exist in the world and not like as this
Whoa.
big villain that we should be toppling.
And don't you feel that is exactly what they did at the end? They literally said those words.
Yes. Yeah, they did.
That actually
They did.
shocked me. They were like, that was, in fact, there was no twist in this story. Let's be real. There was no twist. There was no big plot thing, no big spoiler, no big, oh my gosh moment. It was
No.
all very well done and enjoyable, but there was no big twist. But Minister Lee, however predictable, at the end, it had a very fascinating twist. When you talk at the very end of the story with Min, right? With Min and Rama.
Yep.
She says, like, we arrested him, but he actually didn't fight back at all. And not only did he not fight back, he helped us and like told us who a few other key purist people were. And he likes his dog. He's got a cute dog that he really wanted to take care of. And she literally says, like, or Rama says, you're not trying to say that just because he has a soft spot for his dog that he's not a bad guy, are you? And she goes, no. What I'm trying to say is that he's a normal dude. That you expected somebody like this to be like this big bad villain. But what I learned was that he's a normal guy. And these people with these thoughts are just out there as normal people. Like that's exactly what you're saying, Cryptic. And it's kind of profound. right?
Yeah, no, it is.
It's a
I agree.
relatable story to modern day.
The problem I have with that is that it was show, not tell, or it was tell, not show. Like
Yes,
they should
agreed.
have showed it, but at least they put that in. That's why I said I don't think it's bad writing because they made attempts at just at doing it the right way, and I think it worked out. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story, so I can't knock it. Right.
Do you think they're going to be doing more of that? I know last week or the week before, I think it was, Merrick, you talked about like the progressive writing style and how they've been adding different elements to kind of what we see every day. Do you think that's
politically? You mean?
Yeah, well,
Relatable to
politically,
real world.
everything really. Do you think that's a something that they're going to continue to do, and do you think it's a good thing?
I 100% think that they will. And the truth is that I feel like they've been that company from day one. There have been little bits that have always been there. LGBT awareness and inclusion. All sorts of things that they have, I think, made subtle in the beginning and have becoming less and less subtle and more overt as time goes on, as the political climate has changed in the last 10 years. I mean, think about the evolution of the political climate in the last 10 years in the United States. It's crazy. And they have really grown with it, but I think been consistent. It's not like they're just blowing with the wind. I think they just feel like they can be very overt about this kind of stuff. Do I think it's a good thing? Yeah, I do. I think that inclusion is always good. I think villainization is where things get sketchy for me. This is obviously gets to a topic that probably shouldn't be had on this channel, on this podcast. But my thing is yes, include. But to other people into villain status, what you want to do is win people over by storytelling, not dictate that certain people that don't agree with you are villains and then write them off. So that I'm always wary of when I see stuff like this.
You're almost speaking to my point about Minister Lee. Like, just make it a part of life. Just make it, these people exist. They are going to exist. We should be learning how to deal with them normally in life, not turning them into villains, because they aren't villains in real life. We can't turn a bad guy in real life into a villain. It just doesn't happen.
No, we should win them over, not burn them to the ground. Right?
Exactly.
That's I almost made a comment that would have killed me. I almost made a My Little Pony reference.
Oh no!
Oh my goodness!
In My Little Pony, they turn all the bad guys into friends in the end. They don't kill them.
Friendship is
I
magic.
don't know this because of Judy. Okay, this is never my fault. I just
He's the biggest fan. He's the biggest fan. Don't listen to him. He's the biggest fan.
Anyway, but I do, and that is a very astute observation and question, Virus. I think there's a real dialogue to have about that.
Well, I just think that all the characters are, like Cryptic said, they should be kind of everyday characters that we run into, and I think they're doing a good job of making them into kind of everyday people. I think their writing is really amazing, and I can't say I've played season 2 or season 1, but you can definitely tell their writing styles progress as some of the seasons that I have played. So I mean, I think it's a really good direction that they're going with everything.
We should just make a note of the fact that ArenaNet as a company is a different company than it was 10 years ago. Like not because of its like political leanings or its writing style intentionally or otherwise. It's basically because it's a very different team. The people have changed a lot, even in the last couple of years. So I think this is it is an evolution for the game. They obviously came in, saw where they were going, and then have continued in a really good way. But at the same time, I feel like it's a really big sigh of relief collectively for the Guild Wars 2 community to know that the first major release content after the big shuffle that happened last year in ArenaNet came out to be good storytelling and good combat. Right? I mean, those are the two things I think if you had to pick only two, that's only my two. So that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to make Timmy a side character, and let's just talk quickly about her being the Deus Ex Machina that solves everything. She has been that for like the past, like whatever, like since she's been introduced in the story. And I feel like I want to hear your guys' take. I feel personally that they did a better job of making her not that. There were moments where they took it too far the other direction, where she couldn't figure out how to make a radio frequency encrypted.
That felt weird.
Yet
it wasn't really great.
It was awesome. I loved that.
It was enjoyable interactions with Rama, right? Because
yes.
the Rama thing was comical. He just kept hearing us. It's like I can still hear you guys. Like it was just an enjoyable experience, even if it was weird.
Yeah, it was amazing. I just wish they gave us some explanation for it. I wish that they had said that, if Timey had said, because she invented radio frequencies in Tyria on our continent. She's the one that invented that.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, just say, oh, this, like the way that we do our radio communication, it doesn't work the same. I'm having trouble making this work. Just some kind of explanation, because otherwise it just seems like she doesn't understand the thing she invented, and somehow Rama, a detective, understands it better than she does.
She took a long break, is what it was.
That's
it. Yeah.
And then at the end, at the final fight, we do get an encrypted channel. She's up, like, before the final fight, we managed to get an encrypted channel.
Guys.
But then during the final fight, she somehow solves global worldwide communication.
Yeah, she does.
It's like the needle is just going back and forth, back and forth. What is happening here?
Big shout out to Plenix. Welcome to the stream, guys. We just got a giant raid. Really appreciate it, man. This is our Coffee Break podcast. We're discussing EOD, the story. We're going to talk about so spoiler alert, by the way, if any of you guys came in and have not finished the story, that's what we're talking about, but we're going to do EOD, elite specs, balance, and meta discussion. So lots to come. Happy you guys are here.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone.
But yeah, I just wanted very quick thoughts on Timey. We're going to treat her like a minor character.
Well, she kind of was. We didn't really see her that much this time
in
around.
This story, she was.
Yeah. I think she was Timey as usual. Besides the obvious, couldn't figure out a radio encryption at all.
Yeah.
But I think she's she is Timey still. I think she's a great character all around, and I've always loved having her in the game, no matter what role she plays there.
Thank you. I love Timey. I will fight anyone who hates Timey. Timey is amazing. She's adorable. She's incredible.
I love Timey too, but I really do think that it was probably good that they kind of gave her a break from being like a main character, because as much as I love her and I love the character and I love the voice acting and everything about her character, but it's just it gets to be too much where you need to get a different storyline. So I am glad that they kind of put her as a side character for this expansion.
Triangle. Yes.
Well, before you give your take, Merrick, I also want to say you make a very good point there, Junie. They kind of wrote Timey, or you inadvertently made a really good point there. They kind of wrote Timey into a corner with her disease, where she couldn't do anything but be a Deus Ex technology solver, right? Like whatever, like that was her contribution to the story. And now they have
girl.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And now they have subtly wrote her out of that corner now, though, right? So now she can contribute to the story in other ways.
Well,
kind of. I know.
They improved her with the technology, which I thought was cool. Like she's also a representative. Like you can tell the inclusion we were talking about earlier, right? She is somebody who struggles with disability and also disease. She's been having that this whole time, and they didn't want to take it away fully, right? Even at the end, she goes, I've sort of acquiesced to this happening. Like there's nothing that can be done. I'm okay with that. But what I didn't realize was that all the little things and the discomfort that I was experiencing were really ruining my life. And now I'm sort of able to be a little bit more myself and stuff, which is cool. I would have been bummed if they were like, haha, Jade Tech, I'm cured, right? That would have been maybe a little cheap.
That would have been good.
So I'm glad that they didn't do that. But just on a side note, have you guys seen the voice actor for Timey? She's like little Timey in real life, and it's adorable. She's not putting on that voice. That's her voice. It's incredible. She's really, really cute.
Speaking of voice acting, we'll segue smoothly into Canuck. Everybody loves Canuck, and everybody loves Matt Mercer. And I think everybody does not like Matt Mercer as Canuck.
Thank you. Those are my exact words. I adore Matt Mercer. I think he's a living legend, and has done more for like nerddom than like any man alive. I really feel like he has. It's just insane. But at the same time, I think they shuffled a few voices in this expansion, and he's the only one that I heard and immediately was like, no, that's not right. And that's not right, and I don't like it.
There are 3 people from the Critical Role cast who I'm aware of, at least in this expansion. It is Matt Mercer, Liam O'Brien, and Sam Riegel.
And Sam Riegel, yeah.
And they are all extremely talented, amazing voice actors. I mean, everyone in Critical Role is, but those 3 are extremely talented, amazing voice actors. And it's amazing how it is. To me, it's like this weird thing where they must have had like a temp person in at the moment who were doing it. Like someone got sick and they brought in a different director or something, because the voice acting is amazing in EOD. It is wonderfully done. And then for the characters that those 3 play, it's like the director just said, Just do your normal
do
voice.
whatever like you, right?
Yeah, it's like Sam Riegel has an amazing range, and you were just like, just be Sam Riegel. And I'm like, I mean, I love Sam Riegel, but everywhere I go, I hear Sam Riegel.
Do you know what that reminds me of? Nolan North. Okay, Nolan North is Nolan North everywhere he goes, and he's a great voice actor. The ability to speak, like the character that he plays, he can put on that well, but it's always the same. Every video game I go play, I'm like, that's Nolan North. For me, I play a male human in Guild Wars 2. So my male human is Merrick. That's where I got the name, was the video game character. So every time I go and play something else, I'm playing Divinity 2, I'm like, why is Merrick talking to me in this little floaty thing? Like, I just hear Nolan North everywhere, and I would like, a little bit more variety. Also, Andy Sean says that's a hefty claim, Merrick TV. I'd say Tolkien takes the title of having done most for nerddom, but I said more than any man alive, because I would definitely never put him or anyone above Tolkien. I am a Lord of the Rings fanatic. We just watched Lord of the Rings trilogy, Junie and I, the extended version.
The third one,
and
though.
She cannot. I mean, you can't get a word in because I just recite every line before it happens as I go, because I've seen those movies so many times.
I would like to bring something up that was mentioned in chat by NG. What about the fact that the Tengu have been introduced in this expansion? That's something that people have been wanting since we saw that wall in the Caledon Forest, right?
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about that?
Which, by the way, is still just a random wall. I mean, I'm so sorry. It's been 10 years. That was the first mystery. I'm going to let you guys finish, but Beyonce is one of the best videos. I'm just kidding. But the first time that I ever played the game, I walk in, and that's one of the big first mysteries you ever see. 10 years later, and we see Tengu, but we still have not gone in that place. It drives me crazy.
I know. I would have liked to see a little bit more about the Tengu.
So the only good thing from I'll let you go in a second, advice. The only good thing from the DRMs is that there is one that takes place right outside of the wall, and you do get some Tengu lore. And we haven't done those. Tengu, That's the only thing I'll say about that. It's not. There's nothing else really more to say about that. The lore is the spoiler, so go listen to the lore. But other than that, there's nothing you don't see in.
I think Cryptic pretty much stole all of it. Like, we don't really get to see. No, it's all right. We don't really get to see much.
Second, Virus. I'm going to say everything you're about to say.
We don't get to see them much. I think when we go through the city, and we go through like a Tengu district, it's like this kind of slummed down district, and that's pretty much all we get besides the wall. And I mean, there's not much that they have introduced so far. So I think they introduced it, and they can do a lot with it. They have the advantage of doing something further with it than just letting it sit in the back of players' minds. So,
God, wouldn't you guys love a new playable race? I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Yeah,
after all these years, it'd be so great. I would love it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only disappointment I have with the Tengu. Everything else they did with the Tengu in this expansion was amazing. And obviously I would like them to see behind the walls, but I mean, we would if we got them as a playable race, that's where we would start, right? And I feel like
the region is there. It's ready.
Yeah. I will say, speaking about Tengu, the Kestrel leader, Ayumi, I believe her name was. I mean, I loved her. Her dry humor was just like, and I love how they swapped. Like, Goric and her were there a little bit together, but when we got both characters, we almost were never without Goric or Ayumi. So we always had this like some version of humor, and she
had some sass
awesome.
Too. She had a couple of sassy lines, which I really liked.
Yes.
I don't want to skip
over.
That
humorous.
I want to shout out Phoenix, who said Nolan North is also Mordramoth than Palawa Joko. I remember that he was Joko. I forgot he was Mordramoth. So he actually does have more range than I was giving him credit for. But it's all sorts of different video games that I just hear Merrick pop out of nowhere. It just blows my mind. Let's see. Somebody else said, the touch of the wall. Yeah, you love the variety with Tengu. The other thing I was going to say about Ayumi and that whole chapter was that I felt like that was really weirdly rushed. That was the part of the story, like, you get introduced to the dynamic of Echovald. I'm going to pick on Echovald specifically because Echovald Forest has a lot going on. There's the dichotomy, right? Split with the two warring gangs, I guess you would call them, or like rebel factions or whatever. I barely interacted with them. I barely remember interacting even with like the main characters that are introduced to that part. Ayumi, maybe, but that whole thing felt very fast to me. Like you had to go, it's there for you, right? It's not that it's not there, but if you're following the story track and you go through HOT, you see a lot of the story. And by the time you are done, you feel very connected with every zone and what's going on in all of them. But I felt like that was not true here.
I feel like that was cut content because we got Tetra at the end and some of the Brotherhood at the end.
Yeah.
In the in the meta, they're there. They participate in it and they have dialogue. They actually lead. The Brotherhood lead one lane and Tetra leads another, and I forget who leads the middle lane.
Okay.
But so there's dialogue there, but the way that they talk, they're not like, who are you? They're not like questioning who you are. It's kind of like they know you already. So I feel like there was cut content where we were supposed to kind of maybe not resolve. I don't think we were supposed to resolve anything.
That's right. Middle's what I did. It's Kaith and Oreen.
Yes. Okay. There you go. Yeah. So if you did the other two lanes, you would got some dialogue from Tetra or who's a warden or people from the Brotherhood in the other lane. Ayumi says multiple times throughout the story, especially at the end, that nothing has been resolved with the Brotherhood and the wardens, and that it is going to. She actually poignantly says that as soon as we're done fighting Suwon, if we've won, we're probably going to have to fight the Brotherhood and the wardens.
One of the Brotherhood dudes on the way out, though, if you talk to him, he says something a little bit more optimistic. He says yeah, this doesn't mean that it's fixed, but we accomplished a lot not fighting each other or something like that. So we'll see where it goes or something. There was at least a little bit explored there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just think that there was supposed to be content where we interacted with both of them and we were introduced to Tetra. We were introduced to people in the Brotherhood, and instead we just got a heart and they were just like, we got to scrap this. This isn't working or we don't have the time. But I'm sorry, Jenny, you had something to say? Or virus. I saw someone light up.
I was gonna say I kind of agree with Merrick there. It does seem rushed. Like you don't get every detail of it. And to be fair, I kind of rushed through that part of the story. It seemed like Tangled Depths version 2. It wasn't my favorite area to be in, but I still.
And I like Tangled Depths better than Echovault.
Well, I mean, yeah, but yeah, you can kind of hear some of the dialogue between them, and it may be pointing in like what season 5 has to be for us, maybe. Mm-hmm. But I really don't. I do feel it's rushed. I don't have any. I don't have any real thought on it as of yet. Like, I want to see more done
to it, right?
Yeah,
because you weren't forced to form that thought. So like when you do Seitong, brand new zone, everything's fresh, everything's crazy, you're learning to fish. Like I felt like that dragged on enough that I felt like I knew the zone. Then we moved on to the city, right? Kaineng, New Kaineng City. And that felt, there was a lot of story chapters there. The map was huge.
We go back a couple of times too.
Well, but there is like a whole section of New Kaineng that I haven't gone to, and it's huge. And like it's the whole back area. There's a ton of stuff back there, and I was like, where did the story not bring you there? Like that, it just didn't end up being a thing. But I figured this is the main city. Maybe that's the reason why it sort of sped us through. And then we got to Echovault, and I was like settling down for like a big experience in Echovault. And before I knew it, I was walking into Dragon's End. Like that kind of shocked me. I thought like there's no way this is about to just funnel me into Dragon's End, is it?
I think this is the perfect example of Guild Wars 2 doing things well but not doing enough of them.
John.
Because WP, I think actually, I don't know if he clocked it or whatever, but he actually said this is the longest story Arena has put out in an expansion. And yet it feels like the shortest.
Is that true?
It? Yes,
it feels like the shortest by half, like 50%. I'm stunned.
Maybe I'm misremembering or misquoting, but I watched his review on his spoiler review on the story, and I'm pretty sure he said this was the longest one that they've put out.
You just blew my mind.
I know, right? I know. I think that's why things got cut because it was already long, and they didn't want to make it too long. But it really does.
But
feel
that's one of the biggest complaints,
short.
Right? That people feel like it's too short. Because I've heard that a lot from people.
Well, I think people
15 hours, I think Asimel said. That it
is about 15 hours. But I also think that people are so like into the story that it feels, like not that long of a story. It feels like it's not as long as, some of the other stuff. But it's actually pretty long,
There's not as many dry spots. Right?
Yeah.
I do feel like the flow of the story was good. I felt like engaged and excited pretty much the entire time.
We actually we all cheated, by the way. The way the story, the way the experience is meant to be, you're not supposed to have mounts, right? We all have mounts you're supposed to get mounts, some of the mounts, not all. Skyscale makes it super cheating, right? WP played through it without. He made a fresh character and played through it as if he didn't have any of the mounts.
I
Didn't.
Wouldn't
can't
that just make you
imagine.
hate
Yeah,
it, though?
I
Like,
couldn't.
maybe
I
add
couldn't
time
imagine
to it,
that.
but you wouldn't like it.
Well, I'm just saying. Remember Heart of Thorns, especially when you got the Tangled Depths. You remember how much time you spent just getting lost in Tangled Depths?
Yes.
Right. I feel like a lot of
Absolutely.
that added time to the amount of time you were playing and made things feel longer than they were. And like through this, like I map completed every map. And I was actually doing it with someone else, so I had to match my time with them, and I still felt like I sped through it, and I feel like the mounts and all the gliding and movement that I have because I played the other ones enabled that to happen. So
Can we take a break to acknowledge that Roz is falling out of his cube?
oh my god.
Oh my god, you can see that, right?
He's alive, right?
His paw is like down and his head is just like facing the floor.
He's fine. He's all right.
Oh, also, Fly Triangle mentioned something, and I think this is very true. Like, it's nice though that there's the reality of like the junkyard in Echo Vault, though, because in any kind of a high tech city like that, where does the waste go? Like, what's the negative side of that? And that really is what Echo Vault, I think, shows. But Arborstone, I think a lot of us can agree that was like a gem of that area. So
Absolutely.
That was a fascinating experience, actually. The whole Arborstone thing, where like reality was sort of unfolding in a weird way. Like that was a creepy instance. Like that was actually
I
kind of
loved
creepy.
the
I liked that a lot.
artwork. The artwork that they chose for that, the way they drew that was brilliant. It was.
Yeah.
I almost thought there was something wrong with my graphics card for a second, and then I realized what was happening.
I think they learned some lessons. I mean, ArenaNet's artwork has always been amazing, but I think they learned
Yes.
some lessons from DRMs. I hate to say DRMs, but DRMs have
You stop saying that.
DRMs have unique concept art loading screens. They're some of the best art I've seen in Guild Wars since the original concept art trailers.
Which were so good.
Yeah.
I remember those.
If you get the chance, obviously you guys are going to play through the DRMs, but if you get the chance, look them up, save them, because they are really amazing. But anyway, to piggyback off of what Junie said about Echo Vault Junkyard, let's talk about June, who is responsible for the Echo Vault Junkyard. What did you guys think of June? I mean, she's this tech Tony Stark genius kind of person, super self-dependent, self-reliant, doesn't want anyone else's help. And obviously that causes confrontation with us as the commander. But I don't know. I liked her as a character. One of the things that really kind of bothered me and Phoenix when we were playing through is that it seemed like the timeline of her like Jade Tech Empire didn't add up. Like I think she had like 15 to 20 years to build this Jade Tech Empire.
Is that how the timeline works? Because that's ridiculous if that's true.
Only on.
She also looked like she's 20, so I don't know.
I think she's like in her 40s, like late 30s, early 40s.
Someone bring up a picture of this girl.
But like they actually give you, if you look at lore, when we were going through looking at lore notes, you can get dates for things, and there's a date for when she met Suwon. And from there, I mean, assuming she worked on Jade Tech before she met Suwon, from there until the current time, when the timeline ends now, and the story that we're playing, it's like 20 some years, like early 20s, and like that didn't quite add up to me. I mean, if she had access to every continent in the world, I would buy it, but she's locked
isolated,
into Canada.
Totally locked into Canada. Yeah.
How did you build an economic empire and make an entire country dependent on you? Just I don't know.
She's the sister of the Empress.
The Empress,
right?
right?
So resource-wise, plausible, more plausible than like an average person. Anyway, I saw Junie. You look like you had some opinions about June. Do you want to?
Oh no, I just wanted. I wanted to say that I think she's so similar to Timey. I guess, obviously that's why Timey enjoys her company and why she kind of connected with her. But if you think about it, like Timey could easily have become a June type character in a different circumstance if she had been put into that situation. So I think it was interesting that could kind of build off of Timey's character. Personally, I think there's a lot more that can be done with Timey if they want to do it, where they give her real character progression. But
go ahead, Paris.
No, go ahead, Merrick.
Well, I was just gonna say, I thought June was awesome. Like, since the question is, what do we think of June? I thought she was really good. I loved the female Tony Stark thing. I love that she's sort of like a rebel in the in the royal court, right? The Empress was even like, you're way too aggressive, and then like sort of like admonishes her. And Minister Lee, she is really stubborn. She's accomplished great things. She's got this really cool fleshed out personality. My real complaint is how she turns it around. Like, she's like refusing to see any sense and hates us for forever. Then we beat up all of her droids, and now we're like, so there. And she goes, okay, fine, let's work together and save the world. Like, it turns around on a dime. And for me, that's always a sticking point for me. Like, I understand character arc has to happen. Characters change, and we root for them to change. We want them to change. We get disappointed when they don't. These are really like elemental story components that are good. But I brought up one of my favorite examples of this ever is Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender, right? Who is a monster in the beginning, like an absolute, like, we hate this guy, and then all of a sudden, like, we learn more about him, and then we have empathy for him. We understand why he is the way that he is, but we don't like him still. And then, you know, he makes there's a glimmer of hope, and then we start to hope that he gets better, but he disappoints us again and again and again. They take their time. The character evolves. I like it when things like that happen. I believe the change with Zuko. Sometimes it's like you were being unreasonably skeptical without, you know, you're a very logical person. You refuse to see any sense. And then you became unrealistically amenable from one moment to the next.
Well, she was like a paranoid throughout everything, right? Like, she didn't trust anybody. She didn't think anybody could help her. You know, she was just this really weird character. And I also, you know, to call back to what Cryptic said earlier, they probably cut some of the story arc out for her from
I wonder, man.
Because like she did go through this, like, okay, I surrender, you know, you guys are now my friends and I'm going to help you do everything I can.
Yeah.
Now I will say that I did love her. I thought she was like chaotic neutral all the way up till the middle. Like, I didn't know which way she was going to go. Like, she could have been. Yeah, she was. I think she was a well written character up until that point too. That Merrick pointed out.
And we sort of saw her like the reason why she was. I like that you brought up that she was kind of like paranoid, I guess. But what it really comes down to is that, like, she's always had to rely on just herself, and and everyone doubts her. You know, she had to fight for everything she's got. She's got that picture of herself and the thing that she looks to and sort of speaks. So she's got a complex that she's fighting against. So we got a little bit about why she is the way that she is. I just figured, you know, I would like to have seen it expanded.
Yeah,
I just want the story to have taken twice as long as it did and have it be drawn out a little bit. Like, that would have been nice.
I think that was actually WP's biggest complaint, was that June and Anka felt like you were, and I don't know if I fully agree with this, but I do understand what he's saying, is that you were forced to not like, Mai Trin. You were forced to like Maya Trin. You were forced to not like Anka. You were forced to like June. But really, these characters are more complex than that. I don't know if I agree with his assessment. I do think June, though, is probably the biggest test case for that, because she isn't really a good person. She's done a lot of bad stuff. If you look at the side lore, like
some of the books and stuff.
Yeah, she's not a good person. And honestly, like, you know, they tried to play up that whole, the commander doesn't trust June. She's locked up this elder dragon. You know, they tried to play that up. And then in the end, it was just like, oh, no, it's fine. Suan wanted to be here. Don't worry about it. You know, they kind of like brushed it aside. But like, there was good reason for us to suspect that. And, you know, like, why not also bring up this other stuff in the story that she's done? This, like, the Echo Val Junkyard talked about that at the beginning of the segment. That's her fault. Like, the June Jade, her company, is dumping there. They are doing bad things. So I just wish they, like, I don't agree with WP's assessment on Anka and Mai Trin, but I feel like June, he may be right. I feel like they kind of tried to push her in a direction and didn't really let, what I felt like there was original intention was that she was this, you know, chaotic neutral character, and they didn't really let that play out as well as they should have.
I those always the most interesting characters. I think whenever you turn a character into two-dimensional, like if you're supposed to like them or supposed to not like them, I talk about this as a plot point all the time. Like modern day storytelling, if you have to do any kind of good storytelling, a character's motivations have to be understood. Even if the character is a villain, you need to understand why they're doing what they do, and you should, as the reader or as the experiencer of the story, be given room to have your own feelings about whether you like the character or not. What I like to use in this example is the It's like the orc thesis. I say this all the time. Like back in fantasy, you can make a character that's an orc, and an orc is pure evil. Like you are allowed to absolutely hate an orc, and you are told to hate them. You never question hating them. Orcs are pure darkness and evil and should be killed, right? In actual realistic storytelling, you don't have that luxury, and the more complex and relatable a character is, even as a villain, and then the reader being left to form their own opinion is very important. The only thing that's ever been in realistic writing or in realistic storytelling that is part of my orc thesis are the Nazis. You're allowed to fully hate the Nazis. You don't humanize Nazis, right? So any Nazi movie, any Nazi story, they're orcs. They're basically orcs, which is why movies like, Brad Pitt, come on, God, where they go on like a Nazi hunting thing. It's a great movie. Why am I dropping this?
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the name.
Come on, chat, help me out. Michael Myers is in it, I think.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh. Somebody? Inglorious Bastards. Thank you.
I was
Thank
actually
you.
thinking of that. I was actually
love that movie. It's a great movie. But it's like they're brutal, and it's sort of almost like a lighthearted comedy thing, and like it's death to the Nazis. And you could do that because they're basically orcs. But in most storytelling, the reader should be given the opportunity to relate and form their own opinion.
Before we move on from June, though, did you guys meet her family? And I don't just mean the Empress.
No.
You have to go out of your way to do that?
Yes.
I assume.
I didn't do it.
I did not meet her family, no.
Do you want to know?
I personally do.
Okay. In the June's mansion, there is a secret room that you can get into, and it's one of the achievements. And she has a husband and a daughter that are in there trying to avoid you wrecking stuff up. The
she
daughter
does talk about her daughter and her husband.
The daughter is
in that story instance when you're in her house. They mention it, right?
Yes. The
I
daughter
read a lot of books related to that, like on the beds and in different areas.
Yes, they in the beds talk about it. That was kind of your hint, like in the books on the bed, to you should look. The daughter is a mini clone of June. She is. You could see all the personalities she inherited, and the father, the husband, is basically the opposite of her, and is the exact kind of person. It's very well. It's like the exact kind of person you would expect her to be with. Is fixes all the things that is wrong with her,
more social, more empathetic,
exactly,
more, mothering, right? They even make a joke that they comment on the fact that she's not at all like a mother. You as the commander go, I can't see her as a mother. And then I think it's time he goes, well, that doesn't mean that she's not a mother. In fact, her husband is much more that type, and he's wonderful. The gender roles thing is brought up and swapped there.
And I kind of wish that wasn't a hidden part, because there's you were talking earlier, Merrick, about how you felt like, there was just this sudden switch with June. There's this dialogue from her husband that basically kind of fills you into the way she's thinking. And
that would have been great. That should be part of the story.
It should be.
That definitely should not have been hidden away.
What cool
so
exposition.
Yes. And then he actually tries his best to convince you to not only see her viewpoint, but to forgive her, and because he knows you're going to beat her. He's
Where is this? How do I get to this?
It's in the mansion. It's in the mansion level.
Time for story or outside of the instance?
Time for another playthrough, Merrick.
It's in that. It's in that instance. You know where the dining room is. If you light up all 3 energy ones, there's small energy things in the corner of the dining room. If you light those all up with jade energy, a secret door opens up, and I
have a huge complaint about this then, because I feel like that should be part of the story. And if not, it should be incentivized behind an achievement, and it isn't.
There is an achievement. No, there is an achievement.
Isn't.
There is. Yes, there is
You're
an achievement. No, there's an achievement. You must have missed it.
That's it. Stream over. I'm gonna go play this thing again. I'll be back.
It gets worse. It gets worse. There is a list. Because it's basically the kitchen is where the secret room is. There's a list on the refrigerator, because he talks about how she doesn't let him help out with things and stuff. And there's a list on there of different tasks that he has to do. And one of the top things on the list is make sure June eats. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
But you suddenly and instantly understand their relationship, right?
Yeah.
By things like that. And
that
that's
is
great.
so sweet. I love that.
Yeah.
That's really adorable.
It gets worse. If you find them, if you find them and get the achievement, in the final instance of the story where the end credits are, they are there and you can talk to them again. The daughter and husband are there and you can talk to them again.
What?
But they
Yes.
don't
my
have.
God.
But
I
they
need
don't
to
have
play the
stars.
story again.
Like,
They
Yeah, I need to
don't
go back
have
through it.
stars to talk to them though. That has to be like in the last thing where you walk around and talk to everybody.
Oh, they're there for you guys? When
No,
you,
that's
you
what I'm
guys,
saying. Oh, they're only there if you do that.
yes, yeah, that's what I mean, I assume that's what I was told, that I did it, so I got to see them.
I'm deleting
and
all my
yeah.
characters. and starting a new,
Yeah,
starting a
yep.
new account. Oh
Yep.
God, I have
So-
failed, you guys.
there you go. There's the family perspective. I do really think that fills in some things. It's still you're right. It's still a jarring switch, but it's softened by the family, and you get a better sense of who she is, and you can see, like you basically, the way the husband describes it is like he tells you to keep going. He doesn't want you to stop. He knows you're going to win. Like he's like, you're going to beat her. Like you just have this determination that even she's not going to be able to stop. But
I am the warrior of light. I cannot be stopped.
but he says, he just says, when you do beat her, like, try to see things from her perspective, but keep pushing, because you will push past the breaking point. And I think that's what they were trying to convey, is that you were pushing past the breaking point and that you were finally getting her to see another perspective.
Well, even
love
June
that.
mentions that when you finally get through all of the traps and everything to her, what was the line? I forget the quote, but she said, these booby traps and whatnot are supposed to be like plan A, B, C, D, and all the way to
Backups
Z.
upon backups,
Backups
right?
upon
That's her
backups,
thing.
but
Yeah,
I didn't expect your persistence.
Speaking of that, by the way, I thought that story instances was cool. I liked the little puzzles. I actually enjoyed that whole thing, especially the end when you're doing the combat and you're needing to get the lasers to hit the shields and stuff. I could see that not everyone would love that, but I actually really liked it. And there was a part that I was like, I wonder if this is bugged, because I actually did come across a bug that was breaking and I had to restart the instance.
So did I.
And,
Yep.
and then I got to another part where I was like, how is this supposed to happen? And I actually figured out that you had to lift the laser up so that it could hit the what do you call it? And I just thought that was a neat design. That was kind of cool.
We restarted the instance twice, or I'm sorry, like 4 times, but twice was because of some kind of, I think it was some kind of bug. The other 2 were me.
same.
I was being kind of stupid and made us
Oh.
restart.
As a God of War fan, like I think that instance in particular has a lot of like the puzzly mechanics to like God of War and stuff like that. So I really, really enjoyed that part of the story, and I hope they continue to do stuff like that.
Wait. Soul says it's a hidden achievement.
Yeah, I was about
Is it
to
a
say
hidden
that.
achievement? How
I don't know.
dare the
I thought it wasn't,
My
but
point
maybe it
stands.
is. Maybe it is.
They should openly incentivize you to seek that out, because it adds so much to the character experience, I feel.
Yeah, I only knew about achievements because Phoenix was telling me, so I just assumed it wasn't one, but maybe it is hidden.
Phoenix knows all the things. So
yeah.
that's different. I don't.
But let's move on to Anka, and then we can kind of wrap this story segment up.
Yeah, sounds good.
Or as people like to say, is Anka, or however Timey says it in her jealousy.
Oh, yeah, Anka.
Anka.
By the way, I love that dynamic. I love
it's great.
the little trio of Asura, right? The whole thing with Goric, and he's got a crush on her. She uses him, hurts him. He's devastated. And of course, Timey is jealous. And at the end, she expresses that she's jealous. It doesn't go anywhere yet, but I just love I think they're adorable. I'm rooting for them.
Slight side note, but so many different races got humanized. I know it's weird to say, different race and then humanizing them, but so many of them got humanized in this expansion. I feel like Asura with Anka, Goric, and Timey did this expansion, and
several major archetypes shown within that one race, right? And we've never seen an actual like a dastardly villain who is
exactly.
An Asura. So
and Ayumi with the Tengu, and Ivan with the Dredge. This is the first
I love
good
Ivan.
Dredge
One of my
character.
favorite characters, dude.
Ivan's amazing. Yeah. So, and we'll talk more about him because there's one more thing we have to talk about with the story before we can move on. But I mean, Anka, I
have to look into that.
Obviously, I want to get you guys' opinion, but Anka was the worst part of the story for me. She
dropped a bomb.
She has ArenaNet villain syndrome that has existed since. I'll
one
give
in
them
chat
more.
if you agree with Cryptic. 2 in chat if you disagree with Cryptic.
Yeah, one if you agree that Anka's horrible. 2 if you disagree and you think Anka's great.
No. Worst part of the story.
Right,
okay?
worst part of the story.
Okay.
If you agree with that, put in a 1.
Scarlet was the best villain they ever wrote. I thought Mordramoth was a good villain. The ball kind of dropped at the end.
Best dragon.
Yeah, best dragon. I think the ball kind of dropped at the end, and I don't think that's the writing story's fault. I think there was other issues that caused that. But Anka follows the line of every other villain that they've done, in my opinion, which is a villain whose motivations you cannot understand. They are not, I say you got to show, don't tell, but her motivations aren't even really told to you. They're so nebulous.
Oh, they are nebulous. Yes.
Yeah, it's
oh
just,
my goodness.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. And, WP said one line that would have changed it almost entirely for me. What if they just had a few lines of dialogue in there where it's Anka, especially when you're fighting her, where she keeps saying, all we have to do is, because she keeps saying, we have to kill everything. We have to kill it. She keeps saying that over and over. Like, what if she just said, we have to kill everything because once we do, it'll reset. Because that's what happens in the Fractals of the Mist.
In the Mists.
When you kill everything, the instance resets.
Yeah.
Like, that would make sense. Her mind is broken. She thinks she's still in the Fractals, or she thinks that...
But she doesn't give that at all.
No, she doesn't, and that's the problem. Or even that she thinks... Maybe she doesn't think she's in the Fractals, but she thinks that the Fractals of the Mist is how everywhere works now. And and she thinks... She sees all these problems with the world, and she's like, if we just kill everyone, everything will be fixed. And
you are right. You have already made this character more relatable.
Yeah,
no, seriously,
you did. I won't take the credit.
No, I'm giving it to you. Okay. So that's my real qualm with this. I'll give the delineation here. I think Anka is a good character. I like her as the character. I liked having this evil, creepy Asura. I liked that. Her motivations were shenanigans. None of that made sense at all. In fact, not only did they streamline it and go zipping past the fact that they you guys all did the story. They somehow went through the mists and needed parts of what? And they found themselves and killed themselves over and over again.
They have to kill themselves for parts
again. And so I was like, this makes no sense now, but that is way too extreme. They're definitely going to explain that crap later. And they never did. And it apparently was her entire motivation for what she was doing, and that was not grounded enough. So I'm forced to fully agree with you. I'm even going to type 1 in the chat.
The Fractals.
Oh my gosh, you're typing 1 too? What is this?
I typed 1.
The Fractals thing actually solves them killing themselves because they needed parts. They got the parts, but the instance wouldn't reset. So they had to kill themselves in order to reset the instance and get more airship parts. Airship parts. Yeah.
Why they got to kill themselves for airship parts?
To reset the instance. They didn't want to keep searching the Fractals. They found a mist that had the stuff they needed. Why keep searching it?
But they needed so many of them that they just kept killing them.
Killing them. Yes.
Okay.
Doesn't that solve it?
That,
yeah, it entertains it.
No,
not at all. And that's the problem. That's the problem. I don't even know if that was the direction they were going for. It's just not enough information. But that's a plausible answer that they could have done, and I don't. This 100% is just
agree.
Like, ArenaNet just keeps dropping the ball with villains, and I don't, I'm hoping now that we'll talk about this as the next topic, I'm hoping if we can get back to more personal stories that ArenaNet is so good at telling. That was why Scarlet was so good, right? Like, it was a personal story. That's why, Marjorie's investigation thing was so good, because it was a personal story that also involved Scarlet and my
Don't you feel like there's room for it now? Because they even made a joke. They were like, we've had back-to-back apocalypses, right?
Yeah.
I was telling this to Junie today. She was like, so what's next? And I was like, hopefully some subtlety, right? Because they didn't, this is actually, and I wanted to get to this at the end, but one of the main things about this was they did not drop a hook.
Yeah,
there's
we'll get to it.
Seed, right?
All right.
This is a big part for me, man. Because
it's the biggest part. Anka, go.
Okay, go. Well, I'm just saying, like, at the end of the story, like this, like, we've been fighting dragon after dragon after dragon. What? I thought you said to go. Don't go.
No. I was talking about Anka. Stop. Talk about Anka. Let's talk about Anka. Go.
I was going to say, I think you're right, actually, as far as like her overall writing goes, like her villainess, like nothing's really explained. But I do like the way she's written to touch all the other characters around her. Like she touches Goric in a way after she dies, and she assassinates Mai Trin after we just got through liking her finally.
Some of us.
Well, yeah,
Not
cryptic,
cryptic.
not cryptic.
I
Cryptic
loved
don't like
her,
her anyway.
okay? I just didn't forgive her.
Uh,
She murdered Alliance Arch, guys.
I mean,
People. It was a good city. She killed Theo Ashford. Family.
She's got cats.
Yeah, it's-
Oh, then
Oh my
everything's
God.
okay.
Makes up for it, right? Oh, he's
I-
back.
Wait, who? Oh, Roz.
Roz,
yeah.
Uh,
Ross is
continue.
back in the story?
But no. As far as it goes, I think she is a bad villain. She would definitely be good as maybe a villain's minion or something. But
Mm.
I do like the way she was written to interweave and interact with all these other characters. I think as far as it goes, that's the best part of her writing. You know.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, she definitely is not a good villain.
Well, she was an Asura, and was also like diabolical and scary. So like, there's a part of her that was good, right? Like that had to be. It's not always easy. Like we play Final Fantasy 14 as well, and to take a little tiny Lalafell and make them like diabolical, like that's hard. And they do it.
They do
actually
it
a
so
lot.
well,
Yeah.
though. They make you hate like the majority of the Lalafells that you meet.
Again, I think it's the motivation that's the
Yeah.
problem.
Every
Yeah.
one of them,
Backstory
yes, the whole
motivation.
point.
Everyone.
Evil little potatoes. Where's Azure?
Junie, if you had any thoughts on Anka, otherwise we'll move on to the...
I posted it in chat too. Jewel had mentioned that as well. Like I felt like it was almost there. They just needed a little bit more. Like I was just starting to get some sort of concept of who she was, some kind of motivation. It was building, but they just, I don't know, maybe they just cut it out and they didn't include it. But I needed a little bit more to care. It was over too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
can
makes
agree
sense.
with that. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna get to the best parts, which is, and we talked about callbacks and cohesion, and the story really did a great job of that. We had the story felt like it took place in the world, right? We
Yep.
felt like this was a story that was really in this world. We have all
Well,
these references.
Actually, Jewel also just made a good point. Do you think this story made a bigger impact for those people who experienced Living Worlds season 1? I mean, for the, what was it? The part that was discontinued, that not everyone got to experience.
Mhm.
Season 1. Yeah.
Season
Yeah,
1, right.
absolutely.
For the people, the few, not everybody got to see that or see that. So for somebody who didn't get to see that, is it going to feel a little bit more disjointed?
I feel like the majority of modern players didn't. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
throw that
That's
out
what
there
I'm
now.
saying.
I mean,
Most
I
people
didn't.
didn't. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I feel like the
I didn't at all.
majority of current players have no idea about season 1.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't, if you don't, this isn't one of those things where if you don't know, it feels bad. Like while you're playing it. The only way it feels bad is that if you're in a podcast after the fact and two people that have played it are freaking out about it, and you just have to sit there. That's when it feels bad.
Yeah, virus.
I have no. I don't relate to that at all. I've been here for 10 years.
Yeah. Other
There's
than
also
that,
the throwback to some of the events of season 1 in subsequent seasons, because they
Yes.
do. Like if you ever were
Occasionally.
curious, they tried to show it to you. They tried to tell you about it. At least I think they tried to give you the bare minimum of what you needed.
I
going
never
There's the
felt it
recap.
was enough though.
And there's the
I've
recap.
always noticed that the parts of the story that they drop in to the rest of the story of Guild Wars 2
Good.
that came from Living World Season 1, all the little references that they've forward put in are just like right over my head because I didn't experience that, and they were always the parts of the story that were confusing and that I just wasn't as invested in.
And
Well,
yet,
were you-
even they know that it's some of their greatest story because they keep
Right.
throwing back to
They
it.
keep
right?
going back
They
to it, but
know.
if you didn't experience it, it's not going to be there. Even it's just kind of confusing. They never went back into it enough.
well, then you're the perfect person to ask. Do you feel that in this expansion, those callbacks detracted from the story or made you confused? I feel like this expansion did it the best in having more of them than any before, but also not detracting. But anyway, go ahead.
Definitely had
I
the most.
personally think that maybe they didn't. I feel almost as if it was written a little bit too much and probably unintentionally for people that knew that story better. Because I think if you know that story, you would get more out of this than if you didn't.
Okay.
And I actually disagree because I did not play through that story. I have watched the big recap. I have seen YouTube videos. I did go and do the clockwork, whatever, when it came back. I did do all the subsequent story that sort of touched on that stuff. And I feel like even though I wasn't there for the actual events of season 1, we were on our road trip and then getting married. Like we played Guild Wars 2 before and after. We just missed that one part, which is a regret I will have for the rest of my life. It's kind of a bummer. But
Shouldn't have got married. That was the deal.
Yeah, that's the problem. Should have got married in game. But I really feel like maybe just because I explored it enough on my own, I feel like it's well enough entrenched in the world story now that if you've been playing for a long time and have been paying attention to story, it was enough. It was enough for me, I guess I should say.
I think it's pretty well documented. You guys should go watch YouTube videos on it. I haven't looked up any myself because I have it committed to memory, but I'm sure there are plenty of videos out there. Just go watch it, experience it. I mean,
well, I've actually seen some of these videos, but I think there's a difference between watching just a video and playing it and feeling that intensity and that thrill and the investment that you can really only get by playing it versus watching it. It just wasn't quite there. Yeah. So, or it could just be that because I missed it, I put way more into it than it should have into it. Maybe I'm dreaming it up as this much bigger influence, and maybe it's not.
Everyone hydrate.
Oh, thank you.
I would like to say, like, as a person that didn't leave the aerodrome at all and play the story, I think it was I think I caught enough, playing some of the fractals, getting some of the backstory from fractals, doing some of that stuff. You kind of got to know a lot of the lore, even not having really played, any of those previous seasons or something like that before. Because I haven't played like season 3 and I didn't finish, Heart of Thorns all the way. Like, yeah, dude, I swear I have not. But
How dare, sir?
But I came out. I haven't even played Iceberg Saga. Like, I haven't even finished it.
You can skip that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't put that anywhere near like HOT. Can I just ask you guys a quick side question? And I'd like to hear you guys chat in chat as well. Favorite expansion at this point? Now that you guys have done the whole thing, 1, 2, or 3. Are you HOT, POF, or Cantha? If you just to sum it all up, what do you like the best?
I mean, I really love EOD. Path of Fire is definitely my second favorite. Heart of Thorns, I just couldn't do the story because I didn't like the maps. I'll be honest, I hated everything about Heart of Thorns. Yeah, it's probably a hot take, and you probably got chat calling me out right now.
Well, Dragon says HOT, nice. Zacha says HOT maps, EOD story. Oh, okay, I like the split. What about you, Junie? What's your favorite? What's your order
for expansions?
Yeah, for expansions.
No, I think I like Heart of Thorns the best, actually.
Heart of Thorns the best. Okay.
Yeah.
For me, did you say Cryptic?
No, go ahead though, because I'm looking for something.
Okay. For me,
it's too
HOT.
soon.
Easy, the top one for me. The maps changed my whole perspective on MMO gaming. Like the verticality, 3-dimensionality that was added with HOT blew my socks off. And to this day, I think the experience of walking into Verdant Brink, seeing that cliff, right? Realizing that it is all real. I mean, that's what ArenaNet and Guild Wars 2 does so bloody well, right? Like, the world that they show you is very explorable. If it exists, it's there. You can jump off that cliff and die. And everything that led you up to that moment taught you that would happen. And then gliding came in and allowed you to explore that verticality in a way that I'd never seen in an MMO. And to be honest, how many years has it been? 8 years or something like that? I still have never seen that kind of map and world building in any MMO to date. And I think that POF kind of came in. I would say POF is my least favorite. HOT, definitely my favorite. Cantha comes in next after that. So that's me.
So I was looking for this WP post. I can't seem to find it, but he had a post that was listing like not really ranking expansions, but like what made each expansion good. And basically he was like, EOD had the best story. I think he said Path of Fire had the best masteries for the mounts, which I agree with. And then Heart of Thorns had the best metas. And I think that really sums it up. I also love the Heart of Thorns maps. I think he said PoE had the better maps, but whatever. I think I agree.
PoE? Yeah, Path of Exile. Yeah.
Path of Exile had the better maps.
Path of Fire.
You know that Path of Fire had the better maps compared to HOT?
I had a
Oh, I'm stunned.
long debate
Stunned.
about this, and I really don't. I think it was because of I don't know. I don't
Thank
really
you,
know what he was
Cody.
going for. Phoenix tried to convince me. I
Thank
just
you,
think it
Angie.
was HOT. The maps were once you got the masteries and stuff, like the maps were amazing. Even before then, they were really awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that HOT was the best overall, just like everything taken into account. I think the
Felt
only
like it was a
problem,
work of love, man. They had the most passion at that time. For me, in
yeah.
my opinion, I felt like everything was. You could just tell they took their time.
Oh, I thank you to Phoenix for sending me the post right now. It says, okay, beat the game, rough thoughts. Heart of Thorns, best elite specs and metas. Path of Fire, best maps and masteries. End of Dragons, best story and collection details. So I totally agree with End of Dragons, best story, best collections, and the details, little details put all throughout the world. Heart of Thorns, best elite specs, best metas. I agree with that completely.
And best maps. I'm throwing the maps in there, man.
Yeah,
I'm doing
he
it.
says Path of Fire, best maps, best masteries. I really think it's just
Nah.
the masteries. The maps are better in Heart of Thorns. No,
Oh, there's a vote, by the way.
I put up a poll that way.
Oh, there we
it's
go.
on it's on
Nice.
maps. It's on maps.
It's
not
just on
anything-
maps. Just on maps.
Just on maps.
Just on maps.
Just on
Yeah.
maps. Just on
Okay.
I mean,
Let's go HOT.
I had said I do like HOT best. Tangle Depths drives me crazy, but
But is
it
a masterpiece.
But it is a
Yeah.
masterpiece. So
Yes.
even though it drives me crazy,
It's
it
awful, but it's
truly is a
amazing.
masterpiece that I had never experienced before. So
I've-
gotta
I've
give
never
him props.
gotten lost in any other Guild Wars 2 map. I got lost so much in Tangled Depths until I
Bro.
had all the masteries. Like,
Are you kidding me? I still get lost in Tangled
Yeah.
Depths every time I'm there. I've been playing this game since launch. I still get lost there and enjoy it every time because it's a marvel to me. How they made those.
I feel like it's a masterpiece if you like abstract art. Like, it's just really
Like an
hard
NC
art.
Escher
Yeah,
painting or
yeah.
something.
You just it's so abstract. It's so bizarre. Like I don't like them personally. I'll do them for hero points.
Sacha,
and that's
thank you for the
about
follow.
it. I cannot get the hang of those maps at all.
yeah.
But that's just my opinion. I know people, preference those maps, and that's totally cool.
Phoenix, if you can remind me of the reasons why WP thought the maps were better, I'd love to hear them. But yeah,
The poll,
I
HOT
disagree
is
with
winning.
them.
By the way,
Yeah, HOT
Just
is
throwing it
winning.
out there. Yeah.
People are entitled to their wrong opinions, and I mean,
Yeah,
that's totally fine.
That's true. But anyway, we were talking about how awesome the callbacks to Keystone were. Hopefully, they continue that going forward. But it all got wrapped up in the best ending, right? The best
For what? For which one?
for EOD, the
EOD?
best ending that any story in Guild Wars 2 has had. But more
Because
importantly,
it's an ending.
yeah, because it's an ending. But also more importantly, an ending of a 10-year story, guys. I mean, we've
No,
wrapped
it
this
is,
up.
and it is. You nailed it right there. I mean, that's what it is. And it felt like it was, right?
Yeah.
I felt like they gave it the room to breathe. They gave it the ability to feel as profound as it was. It literally is the end of Dragons, but it's the end of a 10-year storytelling arc. If they do another story, which I'm sure that we all feel like they will, it will absolutely be something brand spanking new. It's got to be, right? Everything else is like wrapped up with a neat little bow. And can I just say, I was truly impressed as I was standing there watching the credits fall.
Dude, the credits were so good.
Yeah.
The credits fall, which was
They were amazing.
awesome because it felt really cool, and the dialogue was happening over the credits. It felt so cinematic, right, in such a cool
Yeah.
way. And the freaking song. You tell me you had the song up,
Yeah,
the volume
this
up.
I'm
What is it called?
I
A
did.
World Without You,
Yes.
right? Like, or whatever. Like they just hid this amazing song at the end of this thing. Like the music in this expansion deserves awards. Like the video game music awards needs to be like given to these guys, top to bottom. Incredible, I thought.
This was 1 second, Fires. I promise I'll let you go.
He's taking all my stuff, man.
This was the best music I think in Guild Wars 2 since Fear Not This Night. Anyway,
Since
continue.
Fear Not This Night, absolutely, which is one of the best video game songs ever written in my opinion.
Yes.
I definitely think that like you guys are talking about audio tracks, like the audio track in the EOD has got to be like some of the best. I kept my volume pretty low, but by the end of the story, like it was blaring in my headphones. Like I would literally not have to be in Discord because I was enjoying the audio track and every aspect of the story and the ending especially.
Yes.
So yeah, I can agree with you guys.
Fear
there.
Not This Night, by the way, is Jeremy Soule, which is one of the greatest video game composers of all time. He also composed a lot of the music for the Elder Scrolls series, including my very favorite track ever, The Road Most Traveled from Morrowind. That guy is a freaking legend.
Oh, is that the same composer?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
It is.
Yeah,
that's pretty
Jeremy
cool.
Soule.
Really good.
He's a champion.
And for the
Really good.
record, I am biased when it comes to this soundtrack because I have bought the vinyl for it.
Did you?
God.
I thought
love-
about
yeah.
it, dude. Oh,
Dude,
man.
I love
I don't have
it,
a record
so-
player, but I want it up there. I want to
Yeah.
just display it, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Merrick, we have a record player. I mean,
Oh,
it's
we do?
old and mostly
Oh,
broken.
time to
but
buy that
Do you,
vinyl.
do you guys want to know something? I swore I was never going to want this. I wasn't going to get the $100 Aurene statue. And now I finished the story
Oh
and I
my
want
gosh.
it so
you
bad.
want it so badly, right?
I
Yeah.
do. I also swore I was never going to do the Aurene legendaries. And then I finished the story and now I want them, dude. It's so bad. They got me bad.
Heart of Thorns won the poll. It looks like
Yeah, it
in
Wow.
I am done with coffee break. I gotta go. All of a sudden, I don't know what else I gotta do, but I gotta do something else. Pointing out to what you were saying,
What's
Merrick,
so-
about we definitely think that they're going to be writing more, or they're going to be coming out with further stuff. Did you happen to catch the little talking between Timey and Goric at the end there? Where Goric was like, what do we do next? And,
there we go.
and Goric was like, well, hopefully it stays like this forever. And Timey's like, I don't think so.
Yeah,
Like,
no, that's too
yeah.
much to hope for.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of like a hint, going forward, that we definitely have more to look forward to. And I think that's pretty cool.
I
Did
do
you also catch at the end there, because we talked to everyone when we did the instance, did you
We did too.
catch the three-way conversation between characters standing away from each other, Timey, Goric, and Yvonne, planning the friendship agency?
The Friends the Detective Agency is the coolest thing I've
Yes.
ever heard ever, and I'm totally on board with this name, by the way.
I was like, screw you, Marjorie. It is the Friends
Yes, it is
Detective
the
Agency.
Friends Detective Agency.
She'll come around to
and
it.
even Ivan is going to be flying them around in his ship. Ivan is part of it, man. It's so
Yep.
good. It's not that name. Not
It's,
that name.
it's happening. It's happening, guys. We're
man.
making this happen. No, I really do hope, and this is segueing us into the next part of the discussion,
Yes,
the
OG.
last part of the discussion for the story. That I really do think that the next we've seen ArenaNet tell a big bad world-ending story, and to be frank, it. To be frank, get this man out of here.
See myself out.
To be frank, it has not always been great at times, right? I think there's been at least equal bad to good. The things that have always been good, though, are the small personal stories. The small personal stories that were in the original story before you got to Zaitan. The small personal stories that we've had in the Living World with Marjorie, with Kashmir before they joined Dragon's Watch.
Casimir.
Yeah.
Cashmere is a
Kashmir.
sweater. You could be turning the lights off. Hey, Chris K.
With Scarlet, and obviously, I think the best part of Scarlet's story was, I think all of it was good, but the best part was before she went completely mad. Mytrin. So yeah, I mean, I think we've seen all the small personal stories they have knocked out of the park. I can't think of a single one that I thought was bad. And whether it's the Friends Detective Agency or something else,
It's got to be.
I really hope it's the Friends Detective
It's
Agency.
gotta be.
Yeah, this is the direction that they should go. And I think this is what they want, right? Like, they realize this is the way they should go. This is why they rushed.
And I was going to say,
the
how we
dragons.
know that that's true? Because they wrapped up all the dragons. They did it too fast. They knew. I mean, we were one at a time, and they're like, you know what?
Well, not
We
only
should be
did
done with
they
this.
wrap up the dragons this time, but they also completely cut off the concept of the gods from
Yes.
Path of Fire. So
Okay, there
they
you go.
destroyed that possibility
Well,
for a
and they
storyline.
should undo the crap out of that, because the coolest story that has happened, in my opinion, in the last 10 years was the revelation of the Mersat, and then being Balthazar, the inclusion of the gods for 2 seconds, the reason why they might be gone, the talking to, it was Lissa, wasn't it? Or no, Cormir, right? And then we see Lissa's mirror being used. That was the most intrigue that I have ever had in this game. From the moment that the game happened, the story started with the dragons, the mystery of the gods being gone for whatever reason. Remember that in Guild Wars 1, the gods were real. You interacted with them. We knew who they were. These are not abstract deities. These were players in the giant story of Tyria,
Doom.
and they were gone for no reason. An
Doom
epic
comes and kills you
mystery.
when you get banned.
Yes, yeah, Grant comes and kills you if you get banned. But that was one of the coolest reveals that they ever did, and then they flubbed it terribly. They just wrapped it up, and as if it never happened, and we went back to Joko, which was a joke-o, and never ended up.
No way.
The only cool thing about Joko was that they brought it in where Oreen swallowed him and then all of a sudden now gets to resurrect herself.
Yeah, that was weird. That was weird. I just felt like it was such an amazing reveal. I don't think that I've ever had my mouth hanging like wider open at the end of a story chapter, right? That blew my freaking mind when that happened. And then it just never turned into anything. I would love to see that come back. But if you want to know the truth, I agree with Cryptic. I think that it's been catastrophe, like world-ending catastrophe after world-ending catastrophe. And if they're going to build a new story, it better be done with some subtlety. The next thing that happens is we can't be going to the wedding and then all of a sudden, oh my God, Galactus has come to swallow the planet. Like, it can't be something like that. It's got to be, hey, there's some mystery going off and over here. Let's check it out, and a slowly growing threat. There's got to be some slow nuance to this. It's got to be a slow burn, because this game has not done a lot of that in a long time. That they've been giant world-ending Elder Dragons.
You know, now that you said it can't be us going to the wedding and something bad happens, ArenaNet
happen.
right now is like erasing their paper and pad. They're scrubbing it all away.
The red wedding is coming.
Yeah, someone, an intern at ArenaNet just deleted the entire story.
Hopefully they delete that damn hyphen between offline.
Oh my God.
So I want to touch on that real quick, though. You talked about where they're going to go from here with the story. Are you concerned? Because WP was very concerned. I keep referencing WP. I was actually really enjoying his content recently.
WP, be on our podcast.
Be on our podcast. He seemed very concerned about the void being used to hand wave away problems in the future, to be the explanation for why, like. There's this whole thing with Lissa, right, and chaos, and like maybe that's the explanation for that, or like why some of the races, like the Coden thing, or like there was a whole bunch of stuff that like people going crazy. Like, let's just hand wave that away with the void, right? Like,
I can see where
Scarlet
you're going with that.
Crazy, the void,
The void.
Like,
Yeah.
not her own internal fears taking over. It's the void.
It's also sort of a letdown for me. I hadn't really thought about that, but the years worth of building with like, where do the Elder Dragons come from? Why is it that they must be here? These big elemental beings, like when they die, it's hurting the planet. There's like a threat to there. I felt like that was building to something bigger and cooler in terms of a reveal. What we ended up getting was like the god of the Elder Dragons, who created all the rest of them in a very like foolishly altruistic way, I guess. Like thought that was going to be like, she acted like it needed to happen, but now we're like, Orion's the only one, and that's a better thing for some reason. I felt like that was not. I felt like I had hoped that they had this big secret that they were going to unveil from the beginning of the story, and I feel like they never did, and then just decided to wrap it up with Suwon in this expansion.
To play off that for a second, Suwon, like I loved her character. I hated the fact that, because the mother thing, pretty much, I would say most of what's in this expansion as far as story was made up for this expansion. There's a few seeds here and there, but most of it is made up for this, for this expansion. They weren't planning this way out. The mother thing is actually in lore, though. It is in the past, the mother of the Elder Dragons. Like
Suwon. Yeah,
Suwon. Like, it is in lore. I don't like that Suwon, the sea dragon. I don't mind that she's good. I think that's cool. I don't like that she is mother. Why does she? This is something that was born from chaos, from the void. Why is she having all these problems controlling the void? I don't like.
None of it really came to make sense to me. And there's so much hype behind Kunavang, by the way, and Kunavang had no role in this story at all. That was like such I mean, I didn't even play Kantha, but I know like my friends were freaking hyped about that, and there was barely any involvement with Kunavang.
I mean, she was Nava the whole time, so I guess.
But there was barely any interaction with Nava.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I do. That was the one thing that
Dragon,
I love the Kunavang reveal, but I was like face palming when I realized Nava Kunavang. I was like, oh, come on, guys.
Chris K, I agree. He says, I feel like Orien was made a scapegoat for the most part of the last two major stories. Like, it has entirely been, everything is wrapped up around Orien. Like, this is the solution to all problems. She's the absolute meta.
And she's a drama queen. Merrick knows how much I dislike Lorraine. I think she is
Doesn't
probably
like
the
Tiny,
worst.
doesn't like Oreen.
She's the worst character ever. She's a great god dragon, and she's a drama queen.
But she's so sparkly.
Oh my god!
A god dragon that can see into the future.
Judy,
And drama queen.
Throw me Oreen.
Throw you, Ori?
Judy, go into the game and get Oreen.
Flying triangle. No, I wanted her to die too. Honestly,
Oh,
Look how cute she was.
Look what we have. I bought this
adorable.
because I really wanted the bobblehead mini in game, and it's adorable.
It is adorable.
Do you guys feel like they didn't? Obviously, we lost my Trin in this, expansion. But do you guys
Same,
feel like they
Zaja,
don't kill off
same.
enough characters in general? Like Bram should be dead, right? Like everybody agrees. Why is Bram
Just
not
because I want him to be. Do they kill off enough characters? I mean, by what metric are we comparing? Like
Are they
Final
afraid
Fantasy
to-
kills off every
No.
character you've ever loved. I'm not sure if I'm ready for that. in
Doesn't Final
World War II.
Fantasy bring back every character that dies?
Well,
That's what I heard.
No,
Okay,
not-
but-
not
I
enough
don't
of
know.
them. I mean, yeah, we haven't finished the story.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah,
No,
I
maybe
never
that's
forget her
good.
for killing what's her name though, the Shiva chick. I loved her so much. I forgot her name.
Oh, also, other fun thing Angie brought up that I remembered. Did anyone get the bobblehead experience in this game?
bobblehead.
Oh,
Did
you mean
no
is
one
there a
get it?
bobblehead? Like
There's
When
like a
you
tonic,
when
right?
you
Or-
sit down to eat, right, with
Yeah.
ramen. Is that
Oh,
it?
if you eat the
by Rama.
special,
If you
the chef's
decide,
special
yeah,
or
so you get
whatever.
to pick from a very large menu. If
Yes.
you happen to pick the last one, which is the chef's special,
I
which
didn't.
I chose, and then you stand up and you actually eat it, interact with it and eat it, you turn into, and everybody around you, with a huge bobblehead. And then you can choose whether to try to be diplomatic and get out of the fight, or to fight him with that bobblehead experience.
Okay, I literally read the menu. I was so hungry at that moment. I was like, no joke. I sat down and read the menu like as if I was gonna order some real food. I was like, I want some
did it too.
sushi, dude. And I actually ordered what I would have gotten in real life, which
What-
was I think it
Actually,
was
I
like
did too. I
it
got
was
the
like
chef's
grilled
special.
eel, an eel.
Dude,
roll
that
or
is
something.
exactly what I did. I got
That's-
the eel, and
Yeah, dude, that looked delicious. It was supposed to be
So-
spicy. It just it looked so good, man.
So that's what me and Phoenix did. I'm not sure what we ended up
Hey,
choosing
Eggman,
because
Welcome
we ended
to
up
Steve.
she ended up picking the dish that I wanted to get. So I don't remember because I was looking for one for her. But I mean, yeah, that's what we ended up doing. We picked the meal that we would have
That you
gotten.
would have wanted?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, talking about the void and us moving forward. I mean, I guess I'm not something. I don't think it's something I'm super worried about them hand waving. I think we're going to move into more personal stories.
I
But-
agree.
I think that going forward, since we're going to be moving into personal stories, before we at least wrap up the story segment, what do you guys? We all talked about that we're looking for personal stories. What is the personal story, or the story in general? But what is the story that you're looking for in the next Guild Wars 2? Like, what is it? The Friendship Detective Agency? What?
Yeah, that's it. Easy.
Yes,
I
it's
think
the Friendship
so, yeah.
Detective Agency.
I want to get in a van with Scooby Doo and
Oh.
roll around and like
Yeah, an
solve
airship.
mysteries, bro. Yes,
With
and
Ivan
friendship.
I'm no longer interested in the friendship.
No,
detective
oh,
What?
agency.
no.
That's gonna
Uh,
be the next expansion. It's gonna be called Friendship Detective Agency.
Yeah, it's
and
gonna have
I
a
will
pony,
buy it.
and Merrick's gonna be a
I
spy.
Friendship is
hate
magic.
you so much.
Yeah, friendship is magic.
I almost forgot one thing. We have to talk about this super quick. E is back, by the way. We haven't seen E since what?
Oh.
The end
From
of
the the
What,
Explorers
season
Society,
2
Tyrian
or-
Explorers Society, or whatever.
No.
Oh,
E
the
never told us
Tyrian,
anything.
yeah. I love the
Um,
Tyrian Explorer Society. That was from base game. Oh,
Is that not who you mean?
No, I don't think E's from the. You guys may not have experienced. E was integral to season 1, 2, and some of the Heart of Thorns stuff.
I'm
Back us up,
definitely out
Joe.
of that.
Who is this?
E. That's literally all we know is E.
Dragon
And
Bash?
yeah, Dragon Bash as well. The first
Not.
one. Not
oh,
the-
where
the-
there's some lore things that are just signed E, right? Is that what it
Yes.
is?
Yeah, but
Okay,
you got like mail from them, right?
Yeah,
I
for
thought
me,
that
yes.
that was.
That's not the Explorers Guild. That is
It's
just someone
not?
saying their E. Yeah, it's a mysterious person that we
Yeah,
don't
they
know.
were like, but that's been around for forever, man. Like,
But
Oh,
E
did
is
people
there.
think it was Ellen Keel for a while?
yeah,
it's definitely
that
not
would
Ellen
make
Keel.
sense.
They know way too much about us and the world for it to be
Yeah.
Ellen Keel. They knew about the Orion's egg. Like they gave us information about that. There's no way
Right.
Ellen Keel would know about that.
We didn't
but
even know Ellen Keel back then, did we?
no, I don't think. No, we did from
At the very beginning of getting messages from E, Mr. E.
well, yeah, Mister. But
That's good.
the
Oh, we did. Okay.
the flower girl, when you go to the end, when you're going to buy flowers from the flower vendor,
Eris?
Eris.
That was a Final Fantasy joke. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. She says that because she says that she knows us, and we're like, how do you know us? She's like, I know all about you from a special friend or
yeah.
whatever. And in the instance where you are at the Marjorie and them are talking about their wedding, Marjorie says we're going to be doing more detective stuff. We've been backed by a big name or by a special actor.
With deep pockets.
Pockets, yes.
Yeah.
And she could be referencing Connacht because Connacht's rich now apparently, or
Yeah, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. Or she's referencing because Connacht was there, so why would she say it like that?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And I don't think Connacht would do that anyway.
I personally think she's referencing E, and I think a lot of other people think she's referencing E. And I think the coup de grace of this is that when you go from I can't confirm this is true. I've been told this. I think Phoenix told me this. If you go when you go to meet the flower person, their hairstyle changes. It's random.
What?
Yeah.
What?
And I don't know if that's a bug or what, but
Did you also notice that when you talk to them, that's right. She has some mysterious reply, right? She's like, you're like, how do you know me? And she's like, we have a mutual friend.
Mutual friend, exactly. Yeah.
It was also kind of weird because she has a star above her head, like an objective, and then you talk to her and the star doesn't go away. And I was confused.
Oh, it did for me. That's a bug for you.
Oh, it's a bug. Okay.
Yeah, it's a bug.
Mysterious.
Yeah.
No, that's fascinating. I hadn't even thought about that. So that's going to be our lead in then. So we do have a tiny hook.
Yeah.
It's not a big one, but it's at least a little bit of one, right? They left a mystery, a question mark at the end of this.
Yeah, I mean, they did. They definitely left
reading
a question
chat.
mark.
I can see your faces. You're all chat reading. And since there's not happening anything in the chat, you're all reading something else.
Yeah, no, I mean, they definitely left us a small hook, and I'm excited for what that may be. I think it's going to be detective agency, but I'm curious to see if we get to know more about E and that she's the one, or he. I always assumed it was a she, but she's the one kind of pointing our detective agency in different directions, giving us different mysteries to solve
with deep pockets.
So since I have like no reference to E whatsoever, I mean, I'm all for any shenanigans that happens with a friendship detective agency. I'm all aboard it, man. I really am.
Yeah, no, I think it's important that we acknowledge that because one of the things that sort of stood out at the end of this, like I said, it wrapped up like a video game was over, like a single player RPG had wrapped up. That's everything that happened. We even got like the happy, like we're all getting married, we're patting each other on the back. All the dramas wrapped up, right? Bram is in there. Everyone's feeling good about that. Rox has a boyfriend. That was adorable, by the way. I think Rox has a different voice actor. Is it?
Yeah,
it is, right? Because that didn't sound like Rox at all.
No.
But everything sort of came together. It was really sweet. Like Ritlock was talking about Krisha. Like everyone wrapped up their arcs, and it had credits and a happy ending, and it felt like that was literally it. So just having any kind of like little mystery dropped in there feels really good. In fact, for the first time maybe in a long time, I'm really curious and excited about the next Living World story chapter. Like the very next one that's going to give us whatever that is. That's going to be huge, man. I'm very excited to see where that goes.
It looks like they got a lot of real estate on the map too to play with. They keep it in the Cantha area, which I hope they do. So
well, they also skipped over like 5 feet worth of map to get down to Cantha, so there's like a million things they can do.
I mean, it is called the Unending Ocean. So.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look at the normal base map, dude, like there's a ton of stuff that they never use still to date. Like they can do anything they want. It's kind of crazy.
Well, that's what makes
Chris
it so
K,
exciting, right? Yeah,
because we don't know for the first time ever.
The first time we're not just expecting another Elder Dragon story.
Yes,
exactly.
Okay, wait, I gotta end on this dream or scene. Oh God, what happened?
What'd you do to yourself, Merrick?
What did you do
I
to
don't know,
yourself,
it
Merrick?
broke. All right, guys, I just want to thank all of our Ko-Fi supporters, No Point Origin, Maddox, Play Angie's Badly, Art and Fact, Dalindra, Zhang, and a special thanks to Andrew Sean, who is responsible for so many of the awesome things we have on the stream, including our awesome audio that has always been working since then. And you guys can thank Saul for this terrible mustache. We'll see how long it survives. But I hope you guys have a great night. I'll see you next time. Bye!